Welcome to the latest episode of this week's Acca, sponsored by Sky Bet. Acca Freeze. I'm Tom, joined by Jimmy and Joe to deliver our selections. You know the drill by now. We're delivering multiple picks. We're looking for an Acca that's around the 10-1 marker. We've also got European club football returning alongside a full EFL fixture list. Well, nearly enough to go at for the games on Tuesday. Let us know your thoughts in the comments or through the Sporting Live Football social media channels. And remember, keep it fun. Never bet more than you can afford. This podcast is 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly. I've been away this weekend, so I had no idea how this weekend's done. I do really, but for the dramatic effect, I'll say I haven't. Close. 2 wins and 2 draws, I believe. We were 2 goals away this time out.
There was a bit of drama towards the end, but it was never actually winning.
My
nice.
Siri's going off. You
so
carry
what
on.
I said was, Siri, is there was a bit of drama towards the end, but it was never actually winning. So we never had that burst of.
For a second, when
Or what could have been.
Yeah,
So there's the positive.
We were 1 goal away, heading into the last minute.
Yeah.
Because Barnsley were drawing and all the other 3 were winning, but then the balloon got really popped because Oxford conceded a stoppage time equaliser to Jordan Rhodes for Blackpool. You're like, well.
Yeah, Jimmy's tipped
now,
up Jordan Rhodes to score before. Was it this weekend as well or not?
No.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So you weren't roaring it in then.
Yeah.
No.
That's fair enough. We had obviously the 14-1 the week before. Now it's time to focus on this week. Then should we just get straight on with it? Stop the reflection periods.
I just want to read my personal favourite comment.
I was going to say, do you want to...
So Tom said in last week's podcast that I'm pretty sure Birmingham are going to be bad under Wayne Rooney. And one guy, Paul White, got in touch just to say, who the fuck is that guy? Using the Conor McGregor gif, which made my weekend actually when I saw it. I'm going to like it from you now, Paul.
I completely missed that
this week, mate.
So yeah, thanks for that. But I think they
did lose, yeah.
So I have no idea how they played, but I'm just going to cling on to the
battered.
top result. Fair enough. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, they did.
Fair enough. On to this week.
Send in your comments.
Yeah, send in your comments. There was
as rude and disrespectful as they are.
Let us know how ridiculous they think we are when we deliver our 4 for the midweek action. As I said at the start, we'll go for the Tuesday games in this one. There is Champions League. We've got 6 in the Championship. We've got all 12 in League 1, all 12 in League 2. I presume none of us going to the National League, but it's always open. Jimmy, would you like to go first this week on a potential pick, having ridiculed your selections, taken them out the podcast because the section got a bit long? It was actually all right, to be fair. So I think you should get the honour of going first. Give us a first potential team to go at.
Cheers, Duff. My mantra is pretty simple. If you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's bound to stick. But this one, I think this pick here, I don't think you're going to like it. I think it's going to ruffle some feathers. It's a monster prize.
What a start this is to the podcast. Crew.
10-3 against Stockport. Any objections so far, Joe?
I actually think Crew either to win or a double chance, draw no bet is a bet. I don't think it's one to be putting in the Acca.
I'll chuck it out straight away. It's not going to make the Acca unless we have loads of short ones. But I will let you, for the benefit of course, people who want to include it in bigger priced Accas. I think maybe, if we like it a bit, we could put it in the long list that we put on site. So make your claim.
Yeah.
Go for it.
First and most important is the price. It's too big. You only have to look at what Crew went off against Wrexham. I think they went off around 47-20, so about 3.25 in decimals, and they're considerably larger. And I would peg Wrexham and Stockport pretty similarly, even though Stockport just don't.
Okay.
even though Wrexham got battered by Stockport. Big fan of Crew and what Lee Bell's doing at the club. Mansfield, they went off at 13-10 against Stockport, and I'd put Crew in a similar sort of. I think it's about time we started talking as Crew in a similar conversation to Mansfield and the rest of the teams at the top of the division. Because Crew, if they do win this game, they could leapfrog Stockport potentially, depends on other results at the top of the division. They are also unbeaten unbeaten at home, 7 games played. I think they've won 5. And against the big boys, they've drawn against Swindon, drawn against Mansfield, drawn against Wrexham. And it took a late equaliser against Wrexham to peg them back
Yeah, the context is Crewe are third. There's been away draws at Wrexham, Swindon. They've drawn with Mansfield at home as well. Wimbledon, they've played away and got something. Gillingham, a home win there as well. Of course, sacked Neil Harris, but that's 4 teams in the top 9 around them. So a pretty good start, I think. Like we said, just too big to go in the Acca at the moment, but absolutely love this.
I don't think it's that it's too big. It's that Stockport have won 9 matches in a row.
Yeah, well, that's been the price itself is not the issue.
No, I think
I'd rather take that as a single.
Yeah, I think it's a good price as a separate bet, but there's just Stockport have won 9 matches in a row. There's no way that a team is going in tied in with others in an Acca.
It will be a tough. It'll be a tough.
Their opponent has won 9 straight matches. That's just completely non-starter.
Before we move on, can we just talk about...
Take another one, because that was like a good single bet, which is a naughty, because you shouldn't be doing that. So go for another like Acca banker. And see
the only thing...
You've not disgraced yourself of it.
Yeah, go on.
So, carry on.
Cheers for the validation, fellas. No, the Stockport game against Grimsby, before we move on. Did anyone watch it? Did anyone see it?
I had commentary on in...
Do you know what it struck me as?
Somewhere.
Complacent. 2-0 up, they started messing around with penalty takers, they got pegged back to 2-2 and it took a late winner. It's in League 2, a winning streak like this has never been sustainable. I just want to be ahead of the curve on when it comes to end.
Well, we spoke about this was an Acca pick, wasn't it, at the weekend? And Grimsby, the issues haven't gone away by a little mini comeback, which ultimately...
Yeah, I know, but Grimsby should have never been allowed to come back.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
Hypocrite warning here, because how much do you talk about afterwards? How long have we spent talking about one that's not going in the Acca?
No, I'm just still trying to convince you, because I think
no chance.
All right, opposite end of the scale. Bayern at Galatasaray.
Early kickoff, no.
Third time lucky.
This is incredible. It's the Champions League, the 17:45 games that are catching us out here.
Come on.
But it's 4-11, so you will have no
Go on.
time to explain.
Go on.
Move on.
Third time lucky. Mansfield at Harrogate.
Okay, I'm hearing you.
8-11. Simple thing is, well, Mansfield unbeaten, remain unbeaten, and they're gathering momentum in terms of turning draws into wins. They've won their last 2, scored 7. The game was postponed at the weekend, so they'll come to this one pretty fresh, some valuable time off, because it's a brutal schedule in the 4th tier. The main thing with this pick, as with any bet, is the price. Stockport, shock, we're mentioning them again. They went off at 11-20 at Weatherby Road, a game they won 3-1. We had that was the winning Acca week, and they absolutely cruised to victory in that game. And I expect a similar story here, both in terms of Mansfield shortening in price and a comfortable win. So 8-11 juicing that price, I think.
I don't particularly have an issue. I spoke about Harrogate before, but then the fact seeing the Stockport game, and I have admitted that I was looking at their home wins now. Their home wins have been Morecambe, Salford as well, who I mentioned before in that big 18-1 winner that we had. Again, Barrow at home, 1-0 defeat. Forest at Green at home, 1-0 defeat. Wimbledon at home, 1-0 defeat. And then there's the Stockport game, which was 3-1. But again, it's that late penalties kind of skew if the judgment truly on that game and how it went. It's a big price. Mansfield, it's just draws for them. That's the thing that's held them back. But it is worth noting they've played Stockport, Notts County, Crewe, Wrexham, Accrington, Wimbledon, Gillingham, Morecambe and Bradford. All of those are in the top half of the table. They're all in the top 11 and they're still 6th, having not lost yet in the league. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I personally don't have too many problems with it, but then there are other games roughly around the same price that maybe you could get to.
Yeah, so I'd have what Tom said about the draws makes me... It's why I went past it, because I just thought so many draws, and like Jimmy said, they've won their last 2, but one of them's in the EFL Trophy. So they won at Notts County, a brilliant performance in that game. But before that, then they drew 3 straight games in the league, only scored 1 goal in those 3 matches. And it's just the price. I just feel like it's a bit short. It's actually shortened in a bit since Jimmy's quoted that 8-11. So 4-6 now. 4-6 for an away win for a team that's drawn, forgive me because I haven't got the table in front of me, is it 8 league matches already this season?
Drawn a lot. I can know that.
Yeah,
they've not lost, but that's basically why they're in 6th. You think that they've probably lost a couple, but they've been pegged back a lot of the time.
It just feels like a lot that.
No.
That they feel very short. So they've drawn 8 of their 13 matches in League 2 this season. I don't feel like that's a team that we can be getting on side at 4.
Taking me by surprise, that
from
actually.
home.
100%. My notes was the price is too big, and I looked at the price last night and it's shortened. So I was happy to take the permutations on because I thought there's juice in that price and it's already shortened. So happy to withdraw, man.
Do you want to just take 4-7 on Notts County to beat Newport as a home team? This was the other thing that we can kind of look at and talk about the prices and stuff like that. It's a shorter price, but I feel like if you just chuck this one in the Acca, then there's one team to make up. You can kind of look away. It's the contrasting home and away forms. I think I can go into a lot of detail on this, but the table really does speak for itself. On Notts County, I've spoken before about their defensive concerns that do remain. I don't think it's too much of an issue in games like this, or it shouldn't be in games like this. Your defensive issues are your long-term ability to then win the league, or when you come up against other good teams, as it's shown, you'll ship a lot of goals, you'll lose those games. But Newport beaten by at least 2 goals at Crewe, Swindon, Accrington, Crawley. They've also lost at Salford. Their only away win's been against Forest Green as well. I don't really want to waste anyone else's time by telling them that Notts County, a team we've spoke about a lot, understandably on this podcast, should get by a lower mid-table. I don't even know the category. Is it lower mid-table, in between relegation?
Middling.
Yeah, around that at 4-7. It just seems to me that's just an Acca pick. That's an Acca-able team in this one.
Yeah, I got it. It's what Tom said, and it's actually on the drift, that price, which I was surprised at.
It's 4-9 this morning.
So I don't really understand that, because I was conscious of this because I was working yesterday, and I screenshotted all the prices, and I just have been wary for the midweek ones that there's just been a little bit more volatility in the prices between like a Sunday to the Monday record, and the Notts County one is prices drifting. So I think we want to get that in, and it is the real simple explanation. Notts County good, Newport bad. Would expect it to be more like 1-2, and it's out to 8-13 now, and I think we want to be getting that in.
Jimmy, any objection, Notts County?
No.
Basically same reasons for Mansfield, right? In terms of good team v bad team, and that is quite enough rather than going into any more detail.
Oh yeah.
You happy? I think this is the first pick, isn't it? Coming from Sky Bet League 2, the first pick of this week's Acca, we're taking Notts County to get a home win against Newport. Now, I usually come with a quiz question, but I've been very busy. But then something happened this weekend, and I thought, oh, it's not really a quiz question, but I just want to, ask you about it and tell the story.
Okay, mate.
And the question is simple enough. It's not your straightforward quiz question. But I was in Bucharest, and I went to the Romanian National Football Museum, okay? And they had a shop there where they sold just shirts, Romanian teams. And this random English football team shirt was in the shop. Staggeringly, it was £68.50. That's a lot of money. I want you to tell me which English team shirt, and I mean this is random, was in the middle of the Old Town in Bucharest. The first clue I'll give you, they've been in the Championship in the last 10 years. You can work with that, and then just think about it. Don't want anything yet.
Just a question, sir.
Yeah.
Is there any relevance to Bucharest? Is there any connection with the English club?
As far as I can tell, no. That's why it's so random that this shirt was in there. Which English football's team shirt did I see in the shop of the Romanian Football Museum at roughly £68.50? They've been in the Championship in the last 10 years. That's your first clue. Back to the Acca, the first pick. Notts County to beat Newport is our first selection.
So on Saturday, or when we did the Acca on Thursday, I tried to race through a few at the end, and we got Barnsley in because we thought the price was really good, and I said that we should have Portsmouth in, and I don't feel like we've got them in the Acca enough this season. And they are even money. As I say even money, they've just gone into 10-11 on my screen. Live prices.
Basically even.
So 10-11, which is still feels like an enormous price to win away at Cambridge. You have to check for 100%, but I think it's 25 league games unbeaten now. It's either 24 or 25, but
they've definitely not lost this season, I know that.
Quite literally losing count of the unbeaten run that Portsmouth are on. I know that they delivered a late at the weekend stoppage time winner over Carlisle, but they are threatening to run away with League One because of this unbeaten run that they're on. For them to be near enough even money to win away at a struggling Cambridge team just feels totally off.
I have no objections. I kind of don't mind having one away team in per Acca, to be honest, if it's one that we fancy like this. I thought maybe it would be pushing towards Mansfield price. Maybe not as short, but you'd think it would be going that way. So quite surprised to see a 10 to 11. I'd have no objections to this unless Jimmy can convince otherwise, because, again, much like the Notts County argument, it's good team v bad team. Good team in good form, bad team in bad form. Simple enough.
Simple. Lovely. Yeah, I know they sort of laboured to victory against Tranmere at the weekend, but I just think a late goal does wonders for a team, and they'll come into this brimming with confidence, so I'm happy to take them as well. Just quickly though, we talk about the keeping away teams to a minimum, and I just thought I'd quickly explain home advantage is an actual thing in terms of betting in the prices, and that's, we mock it sometimes talking about expected passions and stuff in the home crowd, but it is all factored into the price because it does give teams a literal edge, and that's proven. You only have to look at lockdown to when home advantage pretty much went to naught, almost to an away advantage without fans, and that's because of the home crowd's influence on referees and such. So when we say we want to favour home teams in the Acca, it's because of the literal advantage.
Yeah, that's good. That's good knowledge, good insight. I'm happy to take the one, though.
Knowledge
and insight. I'm happy to take the one, though.
So but we can't. Are we taking this away team though?
Oh yeah.
Or are you trying to undermine me?
No?
I think it's more just general that we never go for 4 away teams in an Acca for that reason. But then fundamentally, there's only so much passions and belief can take you when one team is coming to your place and they're just a lot better at football than you are, and you've just got to kind of go with that.
And just a slight correction. I mean, Portsmouth they're not on that long an unbeaten run. Not 25 games, just the 24 games.
Right. Okay.
24 game unbeaten run in League One, and in terms of winning streak, then so many tabs open. They're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row they've won in all comps. 6 games they've won in a row in the league. So yeah, it just feels like a very, very sensible one for us to get on side. Quite a lot of firms have already cut them into 3 to 4, so it does feel like a serious discrepancy. Cambridge, they started the season quite well, beat Oxford on opening day, but now they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games without a win in all competitions as well. So that price, I think, will be long, long gone by the off tomorrow. I
have no issue with this. I think no point discussing it anymore. It seems to me at 10 to 11 currently, it takes the Acca up to 2 to 1 if we take Portsmouth as maybe the only away team, which throws some of mine out the window, but it's all right. But we can still be open. We can still be open to it, can't we?
Yeah.
So we'll take Notts County. We'll take Portsmouth in Sky Bet League One as well. The double for this week's Acca currently stands at 2 to 1. And ahead of this little ad break, I'll give you a football question to just ponder. Around this time of year, 26th of October 2014, Newcastle beat Tottenham 2-1. 2014. Name the 3 goal scorers. We're back shortly.
One thing we've all got in common is having that one leg of an Acca let us down. From spending your winnings in your head to cursing that last-minute equaliser that broke your heart. But it doesn't have to be that way. Acca Freeze from Sky Bet gives you the power to freeze a winning score early. Even if that team goes on to lose, Sky Bet will settle it as a winner. It's time to take action. It's time to Acca Freeze and end the game your way. Visit skybet.com for full terms and conditions.
So far then, on this week's Acca, we've got Notts County to beat Newport. We've got Portsmouth for an away win at Cambridge in the division above. If you were trying to work out the goal scorers in that little break there, I don't know why you're laughing away.
I'm laughing because he just said before we started recording again that Tom's it all right if I take this next selection? And you're like, yeah. And then he just turned to me and went, it's an awful one as well. You're going to hate it.
Yeah, so he's really sold it. I'm really excited to hear what he's got to say to potentially add to this.
I really want to get into it because I want to know what his thought process is.
Right, I'll give you the goal scorers if you try to work them out. Adebayor scored for Tottenham, and then Sami Amiobi scored moments after coming on as a half-time sub, and Iosi Perez got the winner. So that's just a random one to pass the 30 seconds instead of having to listen to.
I don't even know what we're talking
about an advert, but Jimmy. Give us this one we're going to hate.
Middlesbrough at Norwich, 15-8. It's Sky the market leaders price-wise, and it's just because Carrow Road doesn't strike me as a happy place at the minute. Booze rang out as the Canaries squandered a 2-goal lead against Leeds, and the faithful will be expecting a reaction, but I'm not sure they'll get one. Did you catch up on that game?
Yeah.
Unbelievable turnaround.
Completely screwed that one.
You see the weird coverage they had on Sky Sports News for that? Or Soccer Special? Yeah. So they were doing a live painting of the game while they were covering it. So it was really, really weird because the game was incredibly dramatic. So they'd go there, and Norwich had gone 2-0 up, it's bouncing, and then Leeds are getting their way back into the game, but they're taking like a few seconds to cover the fact that this game's turning around, looks like it's going to finish dramatically, but then cutting to see like how this painting's coming along. Someone's like drawing a masterpiece. Honestly.
Look at this. I'm just looking at it on Twitter now.
And I don't know the background to it, and that kind of thing, I think, probably makes sense to add a bit of colour to your coverage. Literally. If it's like a 0-0 or a 1-0, but when the game is like exceptional and you want to know what's going on when you're watching, 5 goals, brilliant fight.
Actually, a pretty good painting to be fair to the guy. That's pretty decent.
I was just
Andy Bison.
You could hear it going wild in the background, and
Andy
over.
Brown.
It's
Sorry.
like, are they scoring here? It's 2-2. Is this who's attacking? So I wasn't a big fan of it, I'll be honest. But if it had been goalless, then I'd be like, yeah, well, it's a reason to go there, isn't it?
Painting was good anyway, wasn't it? It was a good painting. Andy Brown, the artist's name. There you go. What are we saying? No to Middlesbrough, by the way.
Can I at least finish what?
All right. So I couldn't remember where we're up to and if we were done, but you can carry on.
Glad to know you take me seriously on this show. Yeah, so after an unbeaten start to the campaign, I think it was 6 game 5 wins. They've only won 2 of the last 8. They've only won 2 of the last 8 and lost the other 6. They're 13-10 here. They was 5-2. They went off at roughly against Leeds and 6-4 against the Foxes. Now, I don't know about you, but I've definitely put Middlesbrough in a similar sort of category to Leeds. Norwich went off for shady odds on against Birmingham, Stoke, Millwall, all between sort of 9-10 and just under even money, and I definitely rate Borough higher than that. They made it 7 unbeaten and they won 6 on the spin at the weekend. The 1-0 flattered Wayne Rooney's Birmingham, to be honest, because they battered them the whole game. So I just think there's juice in that price based on how Norwich have gone off against similar teams, and Borough are worth getting on side given their form.
Don't know. I think, to be fair, you've got to look at Norwich, and their only 2 losses are Leicester and Leeds at home, which you spoke about there. But they're 2 of the 3 teams who will probably get promoted this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be rating Middlesbrough on similar footing to Leeds. No. I'd be saying that like in that next tranche of teams, Leeds and Leicester, to be honest, I think the pair of them feel like the streets ahead. Leicester feel like they're in almost in a league of themselves. But Leeds,
the cliche league of their own.
Yeah, you think about all of the off-field nonsense at the start of the year and how they've managed to put that all to one side. I would say, yeah, Middlesbrough top 6. It's a really successful season, but yeah, ultimately I know Leeds fought back. It's a brilliant result for them, but Norwich were like within a whisker really of beating Leeds and getting a draw. So yeah, I would agree with you about the price and potentially it looking overpriced given the paths that those 2 sides are on. This game finishes a draw, I'd probably expect that, to be honest. Looks like it's got draw written all over it. Not one that I'd be looking to tie in with other.
It's another potential single shower, isn't it? Much like kind of a few other teams that I've got. I mean, if you want another big priced away one, the one I had was Burton to beat Carlisle, but again, for the same reason of,
the frustrating.
It's a big price, but I'd just take that 2s at single, to be brutally honest, and not have to worry about it tying into 3 other games.
The frustrating thing with this Borough one is that there's not actually been an opportunity to see how they're able to perform against a similarly strong opponent away from home since they've started turning it around. 'Cause it's 6 wins on the bounce, but they had that game away at Sunderland, which a derby game anyway is kind of you've got to take it very differently. But the early red card for Sunderland just threw that game out of whack, so then they ended up running away with it 4-0. But other than that, they haven't had a tough test away from home since they've started getting going. So we don't really know. The only other real strong opponent they had was at home to Southampton, who at that time were like lower than a snake's belly. So it'd just be watching brief for me.
How have we not mentioned Doncaster yet at 5-4?
I was saving them for the end.
Save them for now. Well, not save them, but you know what I mean? I can't believe we've gone this far and have avoided saying them. It seems like, again, we've spoken about Grant McCann, we've spoken about Doncaster a fair bit on this podcast, but now things are starting to kind of even out / look up for them when you look at the recent results. They obviously beat Tranmere, didn't they? There was the big home winning at Sutton. They've beaten Crawley quite recently as well. I think, 5 of the last 7? Something like that, 6 of the last 8, something like that has been victories. So
I don't know.
yeah, it's just This great thing about stats, you can just say them. Nobody ever like turns around to Jake, who's not here today, but is very stat heavy, and go,
He's not, is he?
You could just go, you just believe it because someone said it, and it could be completely made up there. But they've been winning a lot now, Doncaster. Obviously aided a little bit by the fact that those fixtures have been quite good to them. But in Salford, they play another team whose season has been pretty poor. They're only winning games against those at the bottom, bar that win at home to Crewe.
I'm going to have to disagree.
I looked at it here. They've won 5 games. 4 of them, Newport at home, Tranmere, Forest Green and Sutton. So they've played 3 of the bottom 4 and beaten them, as you'd expect. I just think Doncaster's upturn. Again, I thought this would go off at odds on, or it might go off at odds on, but it might have been odds on at this time, not 5-4, which gives a serious juice in the value.
So I'd be interested to hear what because Jimmy said he was going to disagree with you. I've got it, I think, tiered in the similar way to Jimmy. So in the maybes, and was going to potentially use it at the end if it was required. Salford, just got me a little edgy because they did win those 3 games in a row. And then the 2 league games since then, Wrexham had to score 2 goals in 30 seconds right at the end of the game to beat them. And then they've drawn with Swindon. So the last 5 games, they definitely have improved. So I think it's just one to be wary of. Doncaster undoubtedly have managed to improve, but so have Salford. So that's why it's just got me thinking, not so sure.
Yeah, I'm saying bit iffy on Salford because exactly what Joe's just mentioned. That they have gone toe-to-toe with the best sides in the division recently. The other thing to consider is McCann actually got sent off against Tranmere, didn't he? Will he be in the dugout? Is that going to make much of a difference? I don't know. But the main, on the flip side of that, like you said, we spoke about it the week we had the 14-1 winner, the the weekend before last, and it does feel like the time to get Donny on board is now, as they've just sort of turned the corner. So I have my reservations about taking on Salford, but I do like Doncaster at home, and the price has got enough in it for me.
Do you want to do the cliched put a pin in it or not?
Yeah, and he mentioned Tranmere there, and that's where I would like to take us. So
it's going to be the next game I was going to bring up.
So Tranmere, they've been terrible full stop, but they've lost every single away game in League 2 so far this season. And they go to Morecambe, who have been pretty good at home. They've won their last 3 games in all competitions. They've won 4 out of 5 in all comps. They've won 4 or 6, so unbeaten in 6 games altogether, and their home form's pretty good too. Their odds against to beat Tranmere, which just feels particularly generous.
I like it. I've got Morecambe down for that reason. I was looking at the home draws as well when you consider who the teams they drew against were Notts County, Swindon and Accrington, who, again, they've kind of surprised us by how well they've been going so far early on. So they're 3 teams who are in the current top 7 are the only 3 teams they've failed to beat at home. The others have obviously been victories there. I like this a lot. And again, I thought this might be one that drifts into odds on. And it may well do as we come closer to kick-off. But for me, this takes the treble of the Acca up to 5-1. It gives us a really nice place to be ahead of the final selection. This was written down. I have no issues with this one.
I don't want to be that guy again, but I do have some issues. And I'm going to bring in some data.
No.
Jake?
No.
This is for you, buddy. No, against Crewe, they actually finished the game with 9 men, but they threatened to come back in that game. They beat Crewe on the XG battle.
It's not a phrase.
Need a bit more. Go on.
People just say it as a phrase.
I'm not throwing... I'm
need
just
a bit
using
more.
it
Go
to enforce my argument, because if you've watched... I didn't watch the full game. I watched the highlights, and Tranmere against Crewe, I'm sure they hit the bar from range, and they had a really good chance with 9 men from close range header. I think it was Jennings at the end to claw back the deficit. And I feel like under with Atkins around, a man you love, they are threatening to get some form back together. So So I don't really want to take them on just purely based on the fact that they're away from home, because I think that they're poor away from home, because I think that's flimsy, and I think they are threatening to change their fortunes with some of the performances that I've seen them put in, and the data supports that.
Got away more than that though. So if this hadn't been one that I'd suggested, I'd be saying exactly the same thing to you. So what's really important if you're using data, especially when it comes to expected goals, is just the application of context to it. So it's very even in terms of the XG that was accumulated by both teams in that game. Crew went 2-0 up. What happens when a team goes 2-0 up? Naturally, like any football fan will tell you, they'll sit back and they just invite the pressure, so then the opponent will start racking up chances. The team that's 2-0 up, well, what's even more likely to happen if that other team's down to 10 men, that happens even more. So just because they were about even on the XG does not mean that all of a sudden Tranmere were putting in a phenomenal performance. And their second player that was sent off was in injury time. So they actually played against 10 men, and they were already 1-0 down at half-time. The first sending off was 48 minutes. And then they conceded almost immediately after, 3 minutes after that, to go 2-0 down. So it doesn't present itself to me as, well, we should watch out for Tranmere because of this. Next game, they lost at home to Doncaster anyway. So that's 2 games ago. There's nothing in that argument that makes me think I don't want to be opposing Tranmere. If anything, it makes me think I want to be opposing them more.
What, hitting the bar twice with 10 men away at Crewe, one of the top sides in the division? Doesn't cast some doubt into your mind about opposing?
One game. Like, we'd have to look through every single game of every single team to see who's been hitting the bar or hitting the post. And the signs of whether there's going to be an upturn under Nigel Adkins. They haven't won any of the last 4 games. Lost the last 3.
It definitely has dipped off since what was a positive start. Obviously, I think early on in Atkins, they maybe won 2 of the first 3 or 4 under him, didn't they? And since then, it's massively dropped off. I don't need convincing because I had it written down. So I'd happily include it. I think the way we're going, there's been a lot of dismissing, which is great, but fundamentally there's going to have to be some selections that go in that some of us don't like.
Do you want to know something funny? I actually want this selection in. I just didn't want to sit here and go, you know what, you two, I love you two and I agree with everything you say. I'm just saying I actually watched Tranmere a fair bit and they're not as bad as you might think.
The simplest of stats as well is it's home team who haven't lost at home this season. 3 wins, 3 draws in the league against team who is one of the worst in the league and has lost all of their away games, and they are odds against to win that game. 11-10. The price does not stack up.
You smooth talking son of a bitch. I'm in. I was in all along.
Let's take it because we've chit-chatted away about a third selection. I want this in because the treble's at 5-1, which gives us a lot of wiggle room in terms of that final pick. We don't have to go for a big price one finally. All happy? We can. Yes. It's not completely ruled out. Yeah. There you go. So we will take, joining Portsmouth as the away team in Sky Bet League 1, we've got Notts County to beat Newport, and our third selection of this week's Acca, we are taking Morecambe for a home win against Tranmere. That treble stands at 5-1. Back to my random English football team question, by the way. I didn't give you a clue last time because I got sidetracked by the other, advert time wasting that I went for. Random English football team shirt I see in the shop of the Romanian Football Museum for £68.50. They've been in the Championship in the last 10 years, but despite that, they've suffered 4 relegations since then. But they could be on their way back up because they're flying in their division so far.
Got it.
That's it. That's the only one I'll give you. I reckon Jimmy has got it because he just knows things. Sure on that. I'll give you the answer at the end of the episode. The treble on this week's Acca currently stands at 5-1. We'll go for our 4th selection next.
Has anybody got anything for the Champions League?
Me. I have one. And it is at 8 p.m.
Well done.
So it can be included in the Acca.
I think you're the only person this season, not to
grew up on kickoff times.
With the kickoff.
Yeah, it's probably the first thing I look at before any prices. Can I actually include this one here? If they're at the top of a list, I'm like, right, where are they top? Right, time-wise. The only one I have that I kind of like is Napoli away at Union Berlin at 10-11. The simple fact is that, obviously, if you're not aware of kind of Union Berlin's story at the moment, then they've had this huge rise, just not into Germany's top flight. They've then made European football. They then made the top 4 in the Champions League last season. It's been absolutely superb. They have not been able to maintain that this season. They're sitting towards the bottom end of the division. They've lost their last 6 in the league. They've been beaten in both of their Champions League games so far. That includes last time out against Braga, 2-0 up, lost 3-2, and they are perhaps feeling the effects of they're not allowed to play the European games at their own home grounds. They are playing at the Olympiastadion, home of their rivals Hertha Berlin. They filled it out, to be fair to them, last time out. It was absolutely remarkable to see so many people turning up for that contest, but this season just has not been great for them whatsoever. You're playing an Italian giant in Napoli, who of course had big summer changes of their own, but the expectation in this group was Real Madrid and Napoli would go through. Frankly, both of those should be seeing games against Braga and Union Berlin as winnable, and at 10-11, I thought maybe this would be a little bit shorter looking at some of the other prices going around at the moment. I think they're at a limit, and they've absolutely smashed all previous expectations, to huge credit for them. This just feels a step too far for them at the moment. And again, we've already got one away team in, but it's the same price as Portsmouth at Cambridge. A slightly different level in terms of what we're going with. But that was the one that really kind of jumped out to me in the Champions League. I thought, when you're kind of looking at some of the other games, Seville v Arsenal being one, staying away from that after what happened when we backed Arsenal in their last Champions League away game, it seems a potential slip up there as well. Yeah, that's the only European one that kind of appeals to me, and I wouldn't really put anyone off backing that in their own Accas, even if it doesn't include in ours.
Yeah, it was. The last point was a good one to bring it back up, because it was a forgettable midweek for us, wasn't it? The Arsenal defeat at Lens. That I just don't know enough. That would be the thing. Do you know, on Union Berlin, I know very, very little whatsoever. Napoli, I'm just wary of, because having a generational season like they had last year, then losing Spalletti, then they just want to be careful with. And what I did take out of the last Acca that we built with the Champions League in midweek, where we had a couple that let us down, because PSV let us down as well. Did they come through at the end?
PSV.
They drew.
Yeah, they drew.
Oxford were the only team on that. Probably the worst Acca we've done.
Yeah, it was. Just feel like, personally, I know so much more about the EFL and the workings and the teams and stuff, and that's just what I'm going to stick to.
Yeah, as soon as you said Union Berlin, I don't know if Joe did the same, but I just went shit, and then I just started Googling Union Berlin. I don't know anything about them, don't know anything about the Bundesliga, but what I did do is I watched the game against Real Madrid, and they was stubborn as hell. It took Jude Bellingham a late winner. I watched it, and they was impressive, but they was also very fortunate, so...
yeah.
I don't know.
You've got to remember on that one that there is an element of excitement and giddiness. This is their first Champions League game. You get Real Madrid away. That is unbelievable. You're going to be just doing absolutely everything you can to get one. And then fast forward to now, you've lost 6 league games in a row. You've lost at home, in quotation marks, to Braga, a team that, they went 2-0 up in that one in what was a bit of a nothing game. And you thought, right, this is it. Finally, they're going to get the outcome. And then they just completely collapse under the pressure of that one. But again, I can kind of talk about this all I want. I know it's not going in.
Yeah, I don't think you're fully behind it.
I am fully behind it.
That makes me feel like
outright.
If you were like, I want, I'd be like, you know what? I'll follow you into battle, Tom.
My problem with this is, if I said it first, I think I'd be far more on board of it. It's again the hesitancy of having 2 away teams in the Acca.
Yeah,
that's probably what is getting me at an odds-on price, as much as I think they will win. But that's the main reason why. It's not the selection, it's the current state of the Acca.
Yeah.
Move on. Give me someone else.
I actually got a big shorty, so we haven't... actually, we've got one shorty in, haven't we? Notts County.
What about...
Titter away.
I was going to say, what about your bet pick?
That probably will make the edit, actually.
Oh, dear.
Leicester, 8-15 to beat Sunderland. I know it feels short because we like Sunderland. It's not going in, then, is it?
I think it's
with a passion.
Right, move on then. Next.
Too short as well. It only takes us to 8-1, which I don't.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind there being 2 more. I said I got a big old list here.
Yeah.
But it's quick fire round now.
Yeah, I don't like Leicester.
Model tagging Grimsby at home to Colchester.
No.
Okay.
Simple.
Yeah, I like this bit.
I tell for why. I'm seeing Grimsby on Saturday, so I'll feed back. But there is a bit of a feeling, as much as it won't happen, that when you're getting into a manager must win this game territory, stay away from it.
There's no manager must win territory for
Gone
one
it.
team because he's gone.
Gone.
So, yeah, Hurst needs to win, but
That's
the
what I'm saying.
manager's been binned.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't know, do we? So when there's no manager there, sack it.
So it's two situations
Two
that we hate.
unknowns.
That's
Hate
what I
it.
got in my notes. I know we're
Right,
not
back to
fans.
you, Tom. We're just doing like a little carousel
Jesus,
here,
I
aren't we?
think I've run out. I had Oxford to beat Wigan. Again, that's an away game, though, at 23-20. I thought, the 2-0 win over Exeter last time out for Wigan was a bit of an anomaly result. They had 5 shots, Exeter had 29. That's significant. Bit of an off day for Oxford, of course, in that draw against Blackpool. Always got to be interested, though, when odds against prices are available. That is literally my argument for him. And I know I've spoken about away teams there, but if you kind of looked at the prices and stuff like that, I mean, this is much bigger. It would take the Acca just before 12-1. And I'm going to contradict what I just said there about having 2 away teams, but if they're 2 away teams I like, then if we're absolutely forced to, I have no issue. But that was the other one I kind of had.
I got them there.
Yeah.
So I got them at the bottom of my list as a maybe. And the only reason why I was thinking not is that they were getting battered on Saturday by Blackpool. So it wasn't that they conceded a late goal. That's not really been on show for Oxford so far this season. That they've been like fairly confident, playing a consistent way, but they were trying to cling on to a 1-0.
Yeah.
And did fold in the end, but they were like clinging on for the last 20, 25 minutes or so. So I would be conscious of backing a team after that to go in the Acca. The 3 that I had left were Swansea to beat Watford at 13-10.
Yeah, quite like that as a price,
And then my favourite, Swindon to beat Gillingham.
I was just looking at Swindon, Gillingham. Manager. Issue? That's your problem?
Yeah, how've Gillingham been getting on?
Not great. I mean, the whole thing I liked about Gillingham was their ability to make games nothing games
So many tabs.
and then win 1-0 at the start of the season. If you looked at their games, nothing was happening because they had this brilliant ability to be the 1-0 team, which is going to get you so far. But eventually they've obviously got fed up with this, and since then they've lost away at Walsall. There's been a 2-1 defeat at home to Notts County as well. They're slipping down the table after having that early start. And then you've got a Swindon side who, of course, unbeaten at home so far this season. So, in terms of the remainders of potential home sides, this caught my eye. It takes it above the whole 10-1 marker on that one. I don't know which one I fancy more out of Swindon and Swansea. I don't actually know which one I'd fancy more on that one.
So Swindon and Swansea, I probably fancy Crewe the most.
So talking of Crewe, Swindon drew their first home game of the season 2-2 with Crewe, and
We
then
had
they've
Crewe,
won-
it's 24-1.
They've won all 5 since.
Yeah.
And if you went on home away table like I've got up here, I was chatting to you two before, not giving away any secrets for who I was going to present, but I do feel like the home and away tables are starting to take shape now. But the discrepancies of some teams have played 8 games at home, some teams have played 6. Swindon have got the most points per game at home of any team in League 2 so far this season. It's just that they're a little further down the home table because they've only played 6 home matches. So I really like the price for a team that are picking up so many points at home. I mean, they're doing very well all round. Swansea, then they've really turned it around at a duff, won 4 in a row, and then they took the lead against Leicester. Leicester is superb, fought their way back to win 3-1 at the weekend. Watford are just middling this season in the Championship. Gun to the head, I would go Swindon, personally.
I thought, gun to your head, you said you were going to go Swansea, and then I was like, yep. There you go.
Oh, you're going to say Crewe?
Yeah, I'm happy with either.
Yeah,
Genuinely,
me too.
I'm happy with either on this one. I think maybe I'd lean towards Swindon just a bit more, just knowing what they're like. And as it's Swansea's based on recent form, which then obviously lost out, whereas Swindon have just been really good all season. That's the one thing, and I know there's the uncertainty of Gillingham without the manager, but
I like that.
they've been beaten.
Long-term thinking from Tom there.
Thank you, I
You're the man,
suppose.
Duff man. You're the man. Yeah, I'm happy to go with the flow on this one.
10.5-ish to 1 pre-boost, that if we include Swindon. That's what we'll say. I think, obviously, you brought both to the table, but would you be more comfortable with them than Swansea?
Yeah. And what about if we included Barnsley to beat Shrewsbury at 4-6? I'm taking the piss.
We could have that. If you had Barnsley and then Crewe, you're at 76 to 1. So if you want a big price midweek one, there's some suggestions to go with there. I think we're happy here. Yeah. We're happy as happy can be. I thought the fixture list was easier than it was. I thought we were going to come here and rattle this off, but there's been a lot of no.
So many maybes.
Yeah.
Anything else to say? Or are we done? No, okay, it's an audio thing as well.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
let's wrap it up and get.
I want Jimmy to answer this because he seemed like he got it. I was in the Romanian Football Museum shop on Friday, and there was the random English football team shirt at £68.50. Astonishing. I'll get it on my phone while you're answering. They've been in the Championship in the last 10 years. Despite that, they've suffered 4 relegations since then, but they could be on their way back up as they're flying in the division so far. Do you want some former players? They've had Andros Townsend, Wayne Hennessy, Asmir Begovic, Kiefer Moore, Shane Duffy, Tom Lawrence. Do you want to have an answer?
Yeah, that
Oval Town.
Oh, who were you going to say?
I was going to say Scunny when you said about the
Scunny
relegations, but those names you just said is...
Let me find the picture. Do you want to know the answer?
In the works. No, I'm happy to leave it.
Okay, no worries. The answer is actually Yeovil Town. There's the shirt.
Look at that. In a row for me.
Would you pay £68.50 for that? It was from it's the black away kit from the 2017 season, according to this.
Is that Sondico as well to make?
Yeah, of course.
Kiefer Moore and Andros Townsend clinched it for me there.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that if you couldn't get it, I was going to say the former managers include Russell Slade and Gary Johnson. And I thought that's absolute tapping, isn't it, there?
What a man.
There you go. I'll come back with a proper quiz question on Thursday that's actually related to something football-wise.
Good KFC outside the ground there. Would recommend it to any listeners.
I was there when Stephen Warnock scored that mad free kick, the wind-assisted one. There's no roof on the stand. It was an absolute horrible day, but that rescued it. Anyway, back to the Acca that we seem happy that we have settled on. The only away team is the only team in Sky Bet League One that we've got. We're taking Portsmouth to beat Cambridge. We're taking Notts County to beat Newport, Morecambe to beat Tranmere, and then Swindon to beat Gillingham. The Acca price pre-boost is 10.45 to 1. And please remember, keep it fun. Never bet more than you can afford, and please gamble responsibly. Now make sure you get in touch with us on social media. As we said, search Sporting Life Football. You'll be able to find us that way. Head over to sportinglife.com/football to find the link to back that and enhance price. And if you haven't already, please follow and rate us on iTunes, Spotify, or your cliched chosen podcast provider. We will be back on Thursday.